Yo, it's your boy Salvaje from the Salvaje Cartel. I'm back with another Fortnite Save the World tips video. Here are 25 Outlander tips. As you guys know, these videos take time to make, so a like on the video is appreciated. Feel free to use my supporter creator code as well if you guys want. And this is part of my 100 hero tip series, so I'm going to be going from tip number 26 all the way up to tip number 50. With that said, let's get started into the video. Tip number 26, Outlanders have the ability to open up loot llamas across the map. Open up these loot llamas, break them down, get the materials that you get from these loot llamas, and then put those materials towards the objective by building around the objective, upgrading the objective, building a couple of trap tunnels for your team, because the more you prepare for a mission, specifically at the end game levels of play, the higher your chances of you beating that mission and the easier time you're going to have. Tip number 27, if you're using an Outlander that does not have the phase shift ability, make sure that you place a directional pad near the area that you're guarding with that specific Outlander. Like that, if there's a lot of husks coming your way, you can use the directional pad to basically launch yourself back into the objective. Tip number 28, if you're surrounded by a lot of enemies or you see that you're about to get overwhelmed, make sure that you're taking advantage of your phase shift ability to basically get out of that situation. Tip number 29, don't use phase shift multiple times. The correct way to use phase shift, if you want to maximize it, is to use phase shift and then wait for the movement boost that phase shift grants you to be over, and then you can use another phase shift again. Like that, you're basically getting more distance out of your phase shift. Tip number 30, seismic smash is better used when you have a lot of enemies around you. So usually what I like to do is I like to gather as many husks around me as possible if I see that I'm about to be overwhelmed, and I want to get them lined up as much as possible so that I can use my seismic smash and destroy multiple husks very quickly. Tip number 31, you can use seismic smash from the high ground. Pretty self-explanatory. Tip number 32, make sure that you're placing down your Teddy ability when the husks are about 5 tiles away from you, just at the medium ranges. Like that, when they get to you, they're either completely dead or they're very weak for you to finish them off with, your regular weapons, for example. Tip number 33, and this is a really good important one, the Teddy is a really good damage source, so you need to know when is the right time to place down your Teddy. For example, at the endgame levels of play, you shouldn't be placing your Teddy every single chance that you get. Maybe the objective isn't being overwhelmed, so it's better for you to save up on your Teddy just in case a trap tunnel blows up, and then you're gonna need that additional firepower. So again, definitely ask yourself every single time that you're going to be placing the Teddy, is this necessary, or can I actually save the Teddy for another situation? Tip number 34, the shock tower is a really good area of effect ability, guys, but make sure that you're using it at the close ranges. Don't drop a shock tower unless there's a lot of husk around you. Tip number 35, the shock tower can actually make husks stagger a lot, and this is basically going to delay them. If you see that there's a lot of husk around you, place down the shock tower and maybe back away a little bit so that you can sort of get some distance before you get overwhelmed, right? Tip number 36, a really good combination of abilities is the shock tower followed up by the seismic smash, and that's basically going to make it so that any amount of husk that is right in front of you is just going to get deleted extremely quickly. Alright, tip number 37, let's talk about some gadgets. So the slow field gadget is really good if used with the Teddy and the shock tower. You drop down the slow field where there's a lot of husk, and then of course you can drop down your shock tower or your Teddy as well. Tip number 38, if you're going for like a mid-range Outlander build and you're specializing on the Teddy because your Outlander only has that Teddy ability, you can also go with the airstrike gadget as well. Like that, you're maximizing your medium range damage as most as possible. Tip number 39, make sure that you guys are picking up fragments all around the map as you're getting the materials for the mission or as you're collecting blue glow. Long story short, fragments reduce the cooldown of your Teddy and shock tower, and it makes it so that the Teddy and the shock tower will not cost energy when you want to throw it down. Tip number 40, let's talk about how to maximize your Outlander hero loadouts. So for the most part, if a hero of mine only has the Teddy, I'm going to focus on, of course, maximizing the Teddy ability as much as possible. If I have an Outlander that specializes on Pistols, for example, I will want to throw at least one other Outlander that is going to make pistols better, and then of course I also want to make the abilities of that Outlander stand out, because of course I want to be getting a lot of damage from my pistols, but also my abilities, because abilities are really important. And if you have an Outlander that has a Teddy or a Shock Tower, or a Teddy and a Seismic Smash, for example, I would probably say to put at least one perk for your Seismic Smash ability. Vanguard Southie is a really good Outlander that decreases the Seismic Smash cooldown, and Seismic Smash can be a really helpful ability that can help you out a lot. Tip number 41, make sure that you press right click while you have your pickaxe out to use your anti-materials charge passive ability that every single Outlander has. An anti-materials charge can help you to gather materials faster, so it's definitely really important that you use AMC when you're playing an Outlander or when you're farming. Tip number 42, let's talk about some really good Outlanders that you definitely want to have in your portfolio. Crossbones Barrett is a really good Outlander. Ventura Ramirez, really good because she increases the range of the Teddy and makes the Teddy more effective at the 8-tile ranges. Fragment Flurry Jess is a must-have. Trail Blazer Quinn is really good, and she's part of the base game. Archaeologist is the best farming Outlander in the entire game, and she's an event hero, so you can't really get your hands on her unless Epic brings it to the shop. And then Enforcer Grizzly is also a really good Outlander, and he is part of the base game. I just want to point out Fragment Flurry Jess, she's a holiday hero, so she will be returning like around December. Crossbones Barrett is an event hero, he won't be available anytime soon in the game. And Ventura Ramirez, you can obtain her after you complete Canny Valley Storm Shield Defense 2 as part of a specific Outlander quest line that you're going to be obtaining on your side quest bar. Tip number 43, let's say that you want to be playing with an Outlander from the really long ranges and you want to use a sniper. Well, it's okay. Use the teleporter gadget to teleport things like Teddies as well as Shock Tower. Tip number 44, do not place Teddies or Shock Towers inside trap tunnels. This is a terrible idea, and the reason why it's a terrible idea is because it's going to block the husk's pathing from point A to point B, and if a propane gets really frustrated because he can't get from point A to point B, he will therefore blow up the trap tunnel. So you should never be placing Teddies or Shock Towers inside of trap tunnels, and not even at the entrance of trap tunnels. Tip number 45, make sure that you guys take full advantage of your phase shift ability by being aggressive with it. Phase shift into the enemy lines and then phase shift back out. Phase shift into the enemy lines, throw down a Teddy, and then phase shift back out of the enemy line, so that again you can just maximize your phase shift ability, and you can always be like really active with your phase shift ability. Tip number 46, let's talk about some really good team perks that I enjoy using for Outlanders. The Underdog team perk, it's great. Make sure that you have some healing on your hero loadout, for example, like the homie Survivalist Jonesy. Long Arm of the Law is really good when you're going to be farming around with Outlanders, and I find Shifting Gear to also be a really good team perk for Outlanders as well, because it increases the amount of phase shifts that you have, which also means that it will increase the survivability that you have at endgame level war games, endurance, and other endgame challenges like Frostnight, for example. Tip number 47, use your Teddy or your Shock Tower as cover. If a blaster is shooting you, you can throw down your Teddy and again use it as cover. Really good tactic to use your Teddy on. Tip number 48, you can actually use Seismic Smash on those annoying refrigerator husks, and this will then cause the refrigerator husk to basically be stunned, and then you're going to be able to do some massive damage on those dudes. Tip number 49, place a Shock Tower on the ground, jump on top of the Shock Tower, and then jump again so that you get a bigger jump and you don't have to like place down a staircase to get from point A to point B. Tip number 50, let's talk about cooldowns. The Teddy has a 60-second cooldown, but when you have a charge fragment, it only has a 45-second cooldown. The Shock Tower has a 20-second cooldown, but when you have a fragment with a Shock Tower, it only has a 15-second cooldown. That is pretty much it. Those are my 25 Outlander tips. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel for more quality Save the World content. If you guys enjoyed the video, please drop it a like. These videos do take a lot of time to make, and feel free to use my supporter creator code, it's Salvaje. See you guys in the next one, and peace out.